Miami landed a quarterback earlier this week in the transfer portal, Reese Poffenbarger. Now, next targets and next biggest positions of need in the portal. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Donno, your host. I'm a University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. Thank you so much to the everydayers for making this episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We are available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're available free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Now, every time our next guest joins us, he is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. He is our recruiting overlord, our transfer portal consigliere. He is Brian Smith. Brian, you're back home in Indiana. You got like that lamp behind you kind of reminds me of like an old like 60s or 70s lamp. Is that an antique behind you?
My parents' house is an antique house, basically. There's no more room for anything. It is 100% antique. So yeah, if you see it, it's old.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So here's what I'm looking at, Brian, for next targets in the transfer portal for Miami. And I know that there's like some frustration from Hurricanes fans that like Florida State adding a ton in the portal, Ohio State adding a ton in the portal. Miami's been a little bit quieter. I mean, they quickly got their center, Zach Carpenter. They got a couple of important defensive linemen and in CJ Clark and Marley Cook. They got an important safety in Savion Riley because they really needed depth at that position. They're obviously not adding like the blue chip portal guys that some other teams are adding. And I will note that the quarterback situation has been a fluid thing, and Miami had a tough situation with Cam Ward. And also, Miami has clearly prioritized recruiting over transfer portal when you just follow the visits, okay? Because a big factor here is Miami is basically out of official visit spots. They had Reese Poffenbarger. His visit, I believe, was unofficial before he signed with Miami because Miami used up those OVs on, other transfer portal players, some that they've landed, some that they haven't, and they used up a lot of those in recruiting. As far as the next targets, Brian, again, I think Miami, despite just adding Poffenbarger, who we really like, but he's here to compete. He's not here to be handed a starting job. They're still waiting on that waiver ruling on Taulia Tagovailoa. I believe Miami would shoot their shot there if Taulia is granted that extra year by the NCAA. And if not Taulia, I think Jordan McLeod from James Madison, who's still in the portal, I think he could be a target. I mean, in your mind, Brian, Miami does have they've got a young quarterback room now with Jakari Brown and Emory Williams coming back, Judd Anderson coming in, Reese Poffenbarger, who's got more experience playing at the FCS level, but more experience than the other guys. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. How important do you think it is for Miami to still try and go out and get a grad transfer to add to that room?
I think it's an opportunity if you believe it's the right guy. Here's the key. Yeah. You made a very, very important point. Miami is prioritizing high school in general. If anybody saw the comments that Kirby made after they stomped Florida State, I think Miami's trying to avoid that. And it's nothing against Florida State. When you go portal heavy, there's a chance there's not as much buy-in because a lot of those guys are going to look at this as a mercenary situation. I'm just going to get here for a year, and then I'm going to the NFL, rightly or wrongly. So they're going to more high school, which I completely agree with. And by the way, Kirby and Nick do it that way, so it's probably a good idea. Yep. That being stated, quarterback's the one spot. If you miss, everything else goes apart, man. Look, if you're going to take a chance at more competition, quarterback is the spot. And for those that do not know, the younger Tua Tagovailoa, he's the all-time leading passer in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I know it's at Maryland. But it's still like 11,000 yards or something like whatever it is. I forget what the number is. He's good. If somebody's mad that they bring in a guy with that much experience, that much proven track record, and somebody leaves, it is what it is. That's the one spot where I don't think you can even remotely say, you know what, less is more. That's one of my favorite sayings. This is not a time for it. I'm all in on that because if somebody doesn't like competition, they should not be at the University of Miami repping the U behind
Right.
center. And this roster, I talked to you about this yesterday on the phone. They got a chance to win the ACC next year. Quarterback is the if, and it is for most schools. If they figure out quarterback, they could be a 10-win team next year, but they could also be a 7-win team if they don't get the right guy. It's very volatile. You got to take your chance if you can get that kid.
You know, something with the players that Miami already has in the quarterback room, you probably would know more about this with Judd Anderson than most of us would, with you having covered his recruitment so much. But I know with the with the upperclassmen who are in the room, with Emory Williams, who was around last year, Ja'Carri Brown, and now Poffenbarger, something that Miami staff likes about all these guys are they all have alpha personalities. They're all very vocal leaders, right? And, you know, I'm not trying to take a shot at Tyler Van Dyke. Maybe it sounds like I am, but he was always quieter. Like I think he had different ways of leading, but Tyler Van Dyke's leadership style was not in your face. That's just not who he was, where Ja'Carri has a lot more of that. He's very respected by his teammates. Emory has quite a bit of that because he showed that on the field even as a true freshman. Same thing, Ja'Carri as a true freshman a couple years ago, I thought showed a lot of that leadership on the field. And, you know, one of the notes from D Money at Canes Insight about Reese Poffenbarger's visit to Miami this past weekend before he got his offer. Miami, he says, was blown away by the visit, and they compared Poffenbarger's personality to Baker Mayfield, they said. And they also have high grades on his arm strength and his athleticism. There's even, he is a 6 foot tall white kid, Brian, and there's footage of him dunking a basketball. And I think his sister is a Division I basketball player at Arkansas. So he's got that basketball background as well. But I think my greater takeaway here is I think all these guys, and probably Judd as well, and you covered him, have that more vocal, in your face leadership style.
It's interesting because if he's that athletic, like if you're a 6 foot guy throwing down, I'm from Indiana, where basketball, like 6 foot guys don't just dunk unless they're athletes.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just, you're not very tall. I'm 5'10". I was nowhere near dunking, I can assure you. But the point is still the same. If you can move in today's world, it extends plays. Everybody does it, whether they want to admit it or not. Extending plays with quarterback position, even a pocket passer, it's important. And here's the key note. Dawson, the offensive coordinator for the Canes, he's had guys like that. Geno Smith, he's a move the pocket guy, extend the play, throw it. Obviously been very successful in the NFL after West Virginia. Clayton Tune ran for over 500 yards the last year that Dawson was at Houston in 2021. I mean, look, or twice, whatever you can't have enough of those guys. 3rd and 3, when you extend plays, you get more first downs. I like that part about him. I need to see more than just filming him at the FCS level. Look, the guy's coming to get you at the power. They're not friendly. Okay. Right. We talked about that many times. Yeah. So that's the big question, but that's why you also bring in another quarterback like Tua's younger brother, or, you know, I would still want the competition, but I'm happy they got him because he's proven, at least at that level, he's mobile, and he's run a system that's similar to what Dawson's used to. It should be a pretty good fit.
We'll talk about transfer portal targets at other positions other than quarterback, which I don't think Miami has done, or at least they're trying not to be done at quarterback, but there are definitely other needs, right? I mean, this team is not strictly a quarterback away from being elite. There are other positions Miami needs to address. Also, we're going to talk about this just insane list of 2025 prospects that are coming in later this month for Junior Day. It's not only an insane list of 2025 prospects, specifically at the linebacker position. I don't know if my man D Nick is trying to get a raise, but he's earning it. Like he is earning whatever he's getting paid at Miami. They may need to add a couple zeros onto that with the job that this guy's doing both on the field and behind the scenes. Folks, you want to keep it locked right here. We got the man, the myth, the legend, the recruiting guru, Brian Smith, the overlord, is with us. We're only getting started on this episode of Locked on Canes. You want to keep it locked. And you know you want to keep it locked to LinkedIn Jobs. At the start of the new year, every small business owner is asking themselves the same question. What's the one move that I can make that'll take my business to the next level this year? LinkedIn Jobs knows that your success all depends on the team you surround yourself with. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn just isn't another job board. LinkedIn is much more than that. It's a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many qualified candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus the leading competitors. LinkedIn also knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats, they may not have the time or resources to hire. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, quick, and easy. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you so much for making this. What is it today? Wednesday? The week is flying by, man. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're available free on YouTube. The Everydayers, we love you. And if you want to take your everydayer experience to the next level, sign up for our exclusive SMS texting service, Locked On Canes Insiders. I include the link in the show description below. Become a Locked On Canes Insider. You get text messages directly from my phone to yours and vice versa. One-on-ones, breaking news, recruiting scoops, transfer portal scoops. It's all right there. Try it free for 14 days. And then if you like it, you can opt in for $4.99 a month. We add a lot of extra value on there. Okay, so I mentioned Taulia Tagovailoa and possibly Jordan McLeod. I think McLeod would probably be the backup option to Taulia. McLeod is the JMU quarterback. Now, there's an interesting offer that's out there, Brian. Miami offered a JUCO wide receiver who, could maybe the next version of Colby Young. They've got some competition. There are a lot of schools after this guy. His name is Leland Smith. He's from Fullerton College in Texas. The measurables on this dude are pretty crazy, Brian. 6'5", 205 pounds. He runs a 4.41 40-yard dash, and he's listed at a 45-inch vertical leap. So that sounds to me like the type of JUCO player who's ready to make a jump.
Those measurables are not even measurable. That's off a chart. If you're anywhere near 40 inches and a 5'10", 5'11 guy, you're pretty good. 6'5" guys just don't have those kind of verts. That is elite NBA all-star. Like Michael Jordan's vertical was right around there. That puts things in perspective.
Okay.
Like, I'm not saying he's Michael Jordan, but like Michael athletically is one of the most gifted athletes to ever walk planet Earth. So I don't know much about this kid. I saw the offer come up on X, and I'm like, 6'5", 205. Yeah. Okay, right off the bat, I'm thinking, well, they lost Colby.
Right.
You need a boundary receiver. It would be nice to have an experienced guy to compete with Isaiah Horton. I assume Horton's going to be the guy until otherwise proven, but this guy could at least compete with him. And with those measurables, I mean, if he has any pass catching skills, it would be pretty inviting to throw him the football, I would think. So I'm sure his length and all that's going to be good at 6'5". Again, if you're going to go JUCO, like the kid they brought in, the offensive lineman from the Mississippi JUCO, it's got to be an elite guy because you got less time with him. So this kid's probably going to be proven because Mario is very, very picky about that, like 1 or 2 kids a year. And he offered him very early. This is a good sign to me. I like this. I think this is the kind of kid that if you've done your scouting, you give him a chance. And again, 45-inch vertical.
Crazy.
How do you not give that kid an opportunity? That's what you really got to look at. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember the last time I saw 45-inch vertical on a screen for a recruit. I honestly don't remember that. Basketball or football. That's rare type of situation. So again, if he has any football skill, he's going to be a contributor.
Yeah, I like this comment from Katie. We need another Amon Richards. And listen, I don't know if Leland Smith is that. Amon Richards was a truly special player, but Amon did have that vert. He had that type. He used to hurdle defenders on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah,
so
Right.
we need somebody who could bring that sort of a skill set. But again, I'm not comparing Leland Smith to Amon Richards. Who knows if Miami will find another Amon anytime soon. Brian, you covered, of course, the incoming freshman wide receivers, and I'll throw the tight end in there as well, and Elijah Lofton. Lofton coming in, JoJo Trader, Ny Carr, Chance Robinson coming in as freshmen. I was having a conversation last night on a Twitter Spaces or an X Spaces that Luther Campbell was on it. Caneville was on there. A bunch of other people were on there talking about Miami's talent. And to me, it's like, yeah, I'd love to see some of these freshmen play, but I also want to see, the guys who were on the roster last year take another step. You mentioned Isaiah Horton, Ray Joseph. I want to see him have a bigger role in his second year. Robbie Washington, Xavier Restrepo, I'm sure is going to be excellent, as he always is. And, hopefully Jacoby George can find just a little more mental stability and not commit so many penalties and cost his team. So, with that in mind, and also Shamar Kirk, who came in from JUCO last year, we didn't see a whole lot of him. So you look at guys like Carr, Trader, Robinson. How much do you expect any of these guys to play their first year? Or does Miami have things covered?
There's a couple of different ways they can go with this. And the overall theme here is the same with any freshman, Miami or otherwise. Do you learn the playbook? There's no way to project that part. But there's still roles you can play in an offense this diversified, where Shannon Dawson and Mario can say, okay, we want to get JoJo the ball. He's going to play slot. He's going to be a guy that can move around some, but he's probably going to play slot. And, I've seen him for 2 years just make people look dumb in short space. He embarrassed guys at the Under Armour All-American practices. These are Power 5, DBs. Like one-handed catch. I'm sure everybody saw that. I was standing there when he did that. That's routine for him. He had 4 one-handed catches just goofing around at the practice the next day. He's that guy. Can they find a way to do it? Yes. How they do the formations, I don't know. But here's my wild card. Chance Robinson is just like, if he walked into a room, you didn't know Chance. He didn't have his shirt on. And I said, what sport does Chance play? Somebody might say MMA or boxer. He is put together.
Yeah.
Like he was blessed and he's worked hard. I think Chance has as good an opportunity to play early as anybody because he can take the physicalness. And like, if you're going to come up and try to bump Chance, he's not a typical freshman. That is a strong young man. JoJo needs to get a little bigger. And he told me recently, hey, I know that the Miami strength program is going to help me. I need to get big. Mm-hmm. He's been about the same size for a year, so he's $175. He needs to be 185, 190 this August. Do not be surprised if JoJo's at a different level physically. I need to see that. And I think he's ready to embrace it. But Chance is already there. Like, he is ready-made. I think that those two guys
Oh, did we lose Brian into the portal? into the Wi-Fi portal? He's like one of those alleged aliens walking around the Bayside Marketplace. Hold on, I'm going to. He's frozen. I'm gonna take him off the screen. Oh, here, you back, Brian? You back?
I guess my internet here at my parents' house is apparently not the most desirable.
Well, they're just like, you've got an antique lamp behind you. They've got an antique Wi-Fi router. It's like from
apparently
1999.
Apparently, it's not very good. But Ny Carr return game, punt return. The difference between him and Nathaniel Joshisa is very little. You can rotate those guys because anytime either one, like we both know Ray, he could score anytime. Yeah. Nye might be faster. Like he's a 10-3, 10-4 kid in the 100 meters. That's rare, bro. You're going to find a way to get him on the field. Miami's receiver class, it's up to them. If they learn the playbook, they stay healthy, obviously. I think all of them will play, and JoJo and Chance, I think, will hit the field first.
We were talking a little bit off air about Shannon Dawson with Miami's offense and the importance of this second year coming in, because I know there's been a lot of judgment, some positive, a lot of negative from Miami fans about the job that Dawson did year one. First of all, just for the sake of continuity, I always like to see, the Josh Gaddis thing was a disaster last year. So I didn't really want to see I didn't want to see a second year of Gaddis, but in a lot of cases, I want to see a second year. I want to see an opportunity for some continuity. I'd like to see more stability at the quarterback position, hopefully for Shannon Dawson. But, every now and then I get a comment from somebody just without doing any homework whatsoever, claiming that, well, Dawson, he didn't do any better than Gaddis. The offense wasn't any better. Factually incorrect, okay? Let me give you a couple of stats, okay? Miami's offense in this past season, 2023 under Dawson, they had the 31st ranked total offense in the nation, 432 yards per game, okay? The previous year under Gaddis, 86 total offense in the country at 367 yards per game. So you can't tell me there was an improvement. Am I happy with being 31st? No. I'd like Miami to be in the top 20, top 15 in total offense. I'm not satisfied with that, but you can't say it didn't get any better. So Brian, some of your keys for Shannon Dawson this coming season, if Miami can take that offense into the top 20.
Number one, the running game needs to be where it's at, if not slightly better. Getting Carpenter, I know it's not an exciting thing, but getting a veteran center, you're not going to replace Matt Lee. Okay, I get that. But they went out and they got a guy that's got a lot of experience. He has a lot of opportunities to grow. He's played in the Big Ten, so that's good. And they also brought in more talent. Just get the ball out in space. The thing that really caused Tyler so many problems is he was impatient and he just wanted to shot plays all the time, late down the middle. That is not on Shannon Dawson. No coach that I have ever met says, let's throw late down the middle. That's what he was doing. He was forcing the football. So sometimes you have to hit the check down. And with the athletes, again, like Nathaniel Joseph is behind X at the slot spot. Nathaniel would start at the vast majority of schools. He was third team this year because Brayshard was ahead of him. Miami is loaded. Just get the ball out. Let the 4-yard hitch become a 12-yard first down. How many guys are going to tackle Ray, JoJo, or any of these guys? Jacoby George with the first guy. They make a ton of people miss. I think that's the biggest thing. And it's not like he wasn't coaching that last year. I just don't think Tyler was patient enough with it. And they have to do better with it. The other thing is Tyler struggled with zone last year. And a lot of college guys do. I'm curious, whichever guy it ends up being, or guys, can they nickel and dime their way down the field if teams just play cover 3 and say, look, you're going to either run the ball and throw short all the way down the field, or it's going to be a problem. That's what Tyler could not do. That's Dawson. This is an open conversation. I've spoken to him. Everybody has patience with your quarterback, and being accurate just never changes. If they get that, with this run game and the offensive line is going to be really good again, probably top 10 nationally, they can average over 35 points a game. So it's just getting rid of those turnovers, man. If you take away like 4 or 5 of the turnovers I had this past year, Miami's 9-3. You know, they're right on the cusp, but you can't throw it to the other team. It's just that simple. That's not on Dawson, man. It's just not.
I want to make a couple notes for folks. We're not done yet here. Brian and I are going to talk about this list of 2025 visitors that are coming in for Junior Day. There's a lot to be excited about there. I know one of our guys, Anthony, was asking about tight end prospects. There's at least one tight end who's going to be visiting later this month on Junior Day. We'll talk about that. A lot of linebackers who are visiting. We are going to have another episode later today on Locked On Canes. I'm going to talk with FCS Nation radio host and ESPN West Palm host Stone Labanowitz, who's a former quarterback. He covers the FCS. He has watched and called a ton of Reese Poffenbarger games. So Stone is going to help me break down exactly what Miami is getting with Reese Poffenbarger. He's going to join us on an afternoon episode later today on Locked On Canes. So we got you covered on a 2-a-day today. And, I want to remind folks, be checking out allhurricanes.com because there's always something going on and being written about there. Brian is my awesome colleague at that website. So we'll talk some 2025. You know what you want to do, folks? You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this new live episode of Locked On Canes. And I hope you're keeping it locked to FanDuel as we head into the NFL playoffs, guys. NBA going on. There's so much action out there. That NFL season is wrapped up. There's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose that first bet, by the way. The app is so easy to use. There's so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explore tab. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, which is the best way to find popular parlays. And there's so much more. You're following your Miami Dolphins heading into the playoffs, 4.5-point underdogs at Kansas City. It's going to be 10 degrees there at kickoff time. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. You can find everything there, including the props. FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We are live, by the way. If you're watching us right now, 9:40 a.m. here on Wednesday, make sure to smash that like button on our YouTube channel and subscribe. And if you listen to the audio version, make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey app, wherever you get your pods. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Brian Smith is with us. And Brian, I'm looking at a confirmed list of visitors coming for the class of 2025 for Junior Day coming up. And I'm sure there's going to be more than the guys who have been published at 247sports.com. 5-star linebacker Zayden Walker is expected to come. I think 4 borderline 5-star linebacker Jadon Perlotte, who's a current Georgia commit. He's expected to come. Tight end Luka Gilbert. I know someone was asking about tight ends. Another top linebacker TJ Alford is coming in. Wide receiver Dallas Wilson, who's an Oregon commit, is expected. Running back Alvin Henderson. Linebacker Elijah Melendez, who is a Miami commit, who we like a lot. Linebacker Montrez Walker. Offensive lineman Lamar Williams. So, Brian, a lot of good players on that list, and like half of that list is linebackers.
Look, you recruit your needs, and it kind of flips year to year. One year you need offensive line more than D-line, or linebacker more than you need safety, whatever. 2 years ago, Miami had a big linebacker class. This past class is not quite as heavy. Yeah. Well, we're back to needing more linebackers. And just not shockingly, because the state of Florida has always been good at it, there's quite a few good linebackers in the state. Melendez, as a kid, like when he walks up, you talk about MMA fighter. I saw him at 15 without his shirt on. He looked like he was 20. All right. And a guy that had been like just absolutely shredded. I'm like, holy cow, who is that? So there are kids they're going after in the state, and a few out like Georgia, Alabama, etc. They've recruited these areas before. They got a couple linebackers in the 2023 class that were really good from Georgia. They're loading up on the elite kids. And I think it's just because they're so good, for the most part, it's kind of like you can't really pick. It's like, who wants to jump over where we have X number of spots? Yeah. Who comes? Because, I mean, again, really, all these guys, they're all, in my opinion, like Alford, Tarbus, Alford, et cetera. You have to take those kids if they want to come. So it's going to be, how many do you take? That's really the bigger question, because if this many guys are coming early, and you mentioned Nicholson's obviously a good coach, what they did with Maui Noah this year, had 7.5 sacks as a middle linebacker. That is rarefied air too, which, like, if you get 2 or 3, it's pretty good. They had 7.5. Their scheme, technique, all that is proven. That makes it easier to recruit. But he's going to leave after this year. There's an opportunity for playing time, and they need some more bodies. I think Miami's linebacker class has a chance to be the best in the country. But overall, here's the other thing. The big group that's coming in, this isn't coincidence. The most important tournament of the entire year, in my opinion, on 7-on-7 is the battle tournament in South Florida. Is it coincidence, Alex, that they're having the Junior Day the same week? No. It's going to be in Fort Lauderdale area. I'll go to it, etc. Every scout does. There'll be some of those kids. These teams will take a bus or a van or whatever to Miami, to Fort Atlantic, etc. Just show them to schools. It's a freebie. You're going to get kids from Arizona, California, New York, Pennsylvania, all over that'll be at this tournament. That it's a pain in the butt to visit, but they'll end up going to these places because it's right down the road. This is a big opportunity. So the list you see on some website, they don't even know who's going to show up sometimes when the van door opens, literally. Right. So it's pretty wild, but it'll be as good a Junior Day as there is in the country. I guarantee it.
I'd love to hear that. This is a great job. Brian Smith, follow him on X at FBScout_Florida. By the way, check out his work and mine at allhurricanes.com. We're keeping you updated on all Miami moves and news updates all throughout the day. Folks, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you keep the party going with the Locked On Network, and check out Locked On Sports Today. Locked On Network has launched the first ever 24/7 streaming sports YouTube channel. Locked On Sports Today. Just search it on YouTube, and I guarantee you something's on, because 24 hours a day it is streaming. You get great insights from the local experts like me and the national experts who cover every league. Locked On Sports Today. Check it out. Brian Smith, thank you so much for the hard work and the insight as always. We'll talk to you again soon.
Take care, sir. I appreciate it.
Awesome work. And thanks everybody so much for being here, for smashing that like button, for subscribing to our channel. This is not our only episode of the day. We're going to talk with Stone Labanowitz, who's going to give us some insight later today on Reese Poffenbarger. He's covered Reese. He's called his games. He knows exactly what Miami's getting. So I would like to open my mind on what the Poff man can bring to the U. So we'll talk to you guys again later on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.